Well, Three Kings is one of my favorite films of all time, but I cannot be objective in my analysis of this film because I served as a film consultant. I was asked to read the script, which I did, before they went into production. I found the script appalling and was considering not even working as a consultant, fearing that no matter how many changes or recommended changes I would make, that the producers would not listen to me. But finally, I decided better to have some input than no input at all. And so, to my surprise, my pleasant surprise, I worked with two fantastic producers, Charles Roven, who now is doing all the Batman films, and he's Chuck, I called him all the time, and Chuck's Jewish, and Doug Siegel, who's also Jewish. We worked together as a team on making changes throughout this particular film. And when I say changes, I think it's important to know, and I won't talk so much about the film. I'll let you, the viewer, decide what you think of the film. But let me talk just a little about the role of a film consultant. What I tried to do was to say, this is why I think this line is offensive or stereotypical. And then I would propose an alternate line, which was not. And then I would try in each and every instance to explain what would work better and why. So my interests not only were to eliminate or to soften or to change stereotypes, but to make it a better movie so that many of the cliches wouldn't be there, so the film itself would be more realistic. And I think Roven and Siegel appreciated that. And I know, they even brought me in when they were filming on location, and I'd sit with Roven and Siegel, and we would argue over dinner, and I would say, come on, Chuck, you don't really need to see Clooney gunning down 80 Iraqis near the end. 2 or 3 should be enough, right? Because in the film you have the Republican guards, Saddam's boys, going up against the rebels. In 1991, after the first Gulf War, President Bush and all of our propaganda sort of radio and that was being beamed into Iraq encouraged the rebels to get rid of Saddam. And of course they tried and they were killed. And this is just a glimpse of that historically, of the plight of the rebels who went up against Saddam, who tried to get rid of Saddam after the Gulf War, the first Gulf War. And Clooney and a few American soldiers bond with the rebels. And so in the film you have balanced images of Iraqis and of Americans to some extent. You have a soldier from the South who initially is very prejudiced against Islam and who in time begins to understand that Islam, like Christianity and Judaism, it's not such a bad faith after all. And he changes completely. And there's a very moving scene in the film whereby an American soldier is being tortured by an Iraqi. And we understand why the Iraqi soldier is doing what he's doing, because of the American bombings of Iraq and what those bombings did to his wife and to his son. So that's a first, in a way. I mean, that you empathize with the Iraqi who's doing really a god-awful thing to one of our own, to an American soldier. You understand the rationale behind it. And to summarize, I mean, I love the film because I think it's, I just think it's an honest film. And it's a film that shows what can happen when people seek out commonalities with one another. And I took, in my book, I took an excerpt from an interview. Roger Ebert was interviewing President Clinton. And I'll just share this and we'll wrap it up. And Ebert says something like, movies like Three Kings help us to empathize with other people so that we can see things from more than our point of view. I think that's the most valuable thing a movie can do. And Clinton, I love that aspect of Three Kings. The biggest problem in human society is fear and distrust and dehumanization and violence against the other. The other meaning in this case Arabs, historically Asians, blacks, Jews, other groups. The demonization of the other. That's a problem. So what we have to do is to actively celebrate our differences. And the only way you can do that is to be secure in the knowledge that your common humanity is more important than your most significant differences. Movies can help us to do that, says Ebert. Clinton. And movies do help us to do that. This is really, really important. So, that's their commentary. I think it speaks for itself on Three Kings.